But these things happen. This isn't, people always say, yeah, well, that's war, and that is war, and that's especially this war. That wasn't what's interesting about this, because this happens every day. Little girls get killed by soldiers in Iraq every day, not because we want to, but just because it happens. Well, what happened was the 82nd Patrol just sort of mounted up and they rode off. Like, they just got the hell out of there. It wasn't their zone, it was our zone. So they left it with us. It was our responsibility. Once again, we got stuck calling this stuff up. We called it up to our Tactical Operations Center, which we called the TOC, and we told them what happened. And basically they told us to continue mission. They said Charlie Mike, and that's military jargon for continue mission. And so we didn't want to be there anymore. We just hopped up in our Humvees and rode out. And we didn't even have a translator, and we didn't speak Arabic. We couldn't even say sorry, We just hopped in our vehicle and rode off. This incident does not reflect negligence on the part of the soldiers directly involved, but it does illustrate the carelessness with which the U.S. military handles civilian casualties on the battlefield. We fired automatic weapons into the middle of a wedding party, wounding and killing several guests, and our only reaction afterwards was to drive away and forget about it. And that's the thing. It's so difficult to get up here and talk about these things for obvious reasons. But what's also difficult is that, like, right after this happened, we never talked about it again. We drove away and we went back. We didn't even tell the other guys back at the post about this. This was just something that we just shuffled it back in our minds, and we thought, well, these things happen, and we didn't really think about it too much, and it was just lost. It was just forgotten, and then the war, or the occupation, I should say, dragged on.
While good men died. Kerry lied while good men died. And you guys are betraying these guys like he betrayed us.
Anyhow, and I believe that was perfect timing. I'm going to yield the rest of my time to the other speakers. Thank you all.
Lastly, I would like to bring up something that Lord here has brought up earlier, and that is the raids and the way the raids are conducted, and usually what we find. What happens to go on at the raids, and typically, in many instances, it is what the military calls a dry hole, or whoops. Several times this happened. Specifically, I have one event I would like to talk about, and I'll be providing some video evidence. It's sort of a truncated version of the raid, but you can get the gist. It was just a typical night raid. It was my platoon, a couple Bradleys. We rolled out to this house. And the procedure for getting into the gate, because typically there were concrete walls with metal gates closed and secured. So we would pivot steer the Bradleys into the walls to knock down the wall and tear down the infrastructure, whatever security infrastructure the person's home had. Sometimes even crushing the vehicles parked right behind it because you can't see over it. After doing that, we drop the ramp and continue inside. We go to the right door, which happens to be the wrong door. You can't get in the house through this door. There's actually there's a deep freeze behind the house. So in all this chaos, everyone's screaming and trying to find another way to get in. We go through the front door. And then we start hearing a lady screaming from the inside, her and her children. And we get to the door and bust the door in and take her and her children to what we call the EPW roundup area, which is where a couple lower enlisted soldiers would take the enemy prisoners of war, like this lady and her children, at gunpoint and hold them until the raid was complete. So moving on through there, we entered their house, and destroyed it. We rummaged through her personal effects that touched things no one should ever probably touch, looking for weapons. Puncturing the walls, looking for soft spots. That was the new thing at the point in time, that they were putting things in the walls. So that was our order. So I guess to make this a long story short, we destroy this lady's house and we find nothing. We've scared her to death and her children, and come out, find out at the end of the video, you'll even hear, we were off by a number. It was the house across the street. So, and we didn't go. This is the really, I mean, at the time, I actually say, hey, we've got time, why don't we go? However, we didn't go. We chalked it up, and as he says, Charlie Mike went home and maybe went to bed. So, if you don't mind, I would like to show that video, if I could. It's pretty dark. The video is really not all that much. The audio is what's compelling. Let's go.
So we're not hearing the audio. Can you either turn it up and play it from the beginning again, please? Can you, Steve or Jeff, can you roll it back to the beginning so we can get all the audio?
And turn it up good and loud. It's kind of...
And play it again from the beginning, please.
Get over the door! Guys up! All right, team one, let's go. Team two, pull back. Go, get out. Get the fuck out. Team two, stand back. Get out! Get out! Get out! Be done with you. Stay outside. Go!
What happened? Yes, my children! I miss my children!
Okay.
What happened? What? What's that?
Let's go. Clear the room, Booger. Go ahead. Go.
That door's open. Fucked up.
Has this on it? Has this on it?
Oh, shit. This woman saying that, oh, you was here, right?
What'd she say? I didn't hear.
The guy lives across the street.
Oh, no. Let's go across the street. We got time.
So Steve, can you tell us a little bit about what happened in that scene?
Yeah, that scene was just kind of spliced together. Really, it's the beginning and the end. It was the entry after we went to the second door. It was the wooden doors we kind of saw at the end with all the locks we'd beaten off. And then we, of course, dragged them outside at gunpoint and rounded them up and had them scared for, it was probably about a 45-minute ordeal. Unfortunately, I didn't have that much even video left on my hard drive at the time. And the way it was videoed, if you were wondering, on my vest, I had it corded. The camera was corded to my vest, and I just was able to pause it on and off to save memory so I could get bits and pieces instead of just all the beginning or all of the middle. So altogether, there's actually 7 minutes of footage. But what you just saw was the bringing her out, the initial clearing of the first floor, and then the end, once we realized there's absolutely nothing in the house. We've destroyed her house with absolutely no respect for anything that was in there. And then we get the word that, whoops, wasn't the right place. So that being said, I just do want to add that is not an isolated incident. I can speak on the behalf of the platoon I was with. That was not an isolated incident for us. But I would like to say I can't blame the people who did it. I was one of them. We were all good people. We just were in a bad situation, and we did what we had to do to get through. So for all those in the video and that I served with, like Cliff said, I have to thank them. And I hope they hear it. That's all I have.